Metalize. Protect, ride, repeat.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Now, with me today is my friend Glenn, who 2 weeks ago was in Portugal for, let's just be honest, a mega launch.
Yes, see, Don, I've been doing this for 30 odd years. I've never been to a launch the size that this was, and I've got to be honest. When I arrived, I thought, how the hell are they going to cope? But CFMoto ran it like a finely oiled machine. I've got to start at the beginning because I misread the whole thing. I was told you're going, or I assumed we were going across to ride the new MTX adventure bikes. I said, very happily packed my suit and my helmet and all that, and off we flew. Wandered into the hall on the evening of the presentation. The hall was packed. 300, read that, 300 people from 80 countries around the world.
My word.
Unbelievable. So as far as I understand, it was around about 80 journalists, 80, and the rest of it was dealers and importers from 80 different countries.
Okay, and how many bikes was it exactly?
Well, I thought we were going to go and ride one. So I didn't pack any leathers. I just took my adventure suit. Looked like a bit of a knob, but that's besides the point. Don, they launched 9 new bikes that evening. 9 new bikes.
That's a lot. So it's 300 people, 9 new motorbikes. That's quite a thing. And where exactly were you?
We were in Portimao. And look, all the riding took place at the Portimao track.
Okay, so let's get on to it. First of all, the different bikes. So 9 different bikes. Come on, crib notes.
I made notes. I hope I can read my handwriting. So in the hall, there were 2 new adventure bikes in the form of the 700 MT, which is more like a roadie kind of bike, a little bit like what did I say earlier, the Suzuki V-Strom 650. Then the one that we will read, well, that's what I thought I was going to launch, was the MT800X, which has got the big 21-inch front wheel. We'll tell you all about it. Then, okay, listen to this. Z-Force 1000, a big side-by-side, which is their sporty one. A C-Force quad. It's a massive utility quad with wheels bigger than my house, and it's got a big intake on the front, and it's a mud monster. So that's the C-Force quad. They brought out an electric side-by-side, which is a farmy one. Electric is a thing. They've worked on it. They reckon you can do 100 Ks on a charge on it.
So that
Further
is actually
to the
big
bikes,
news.
and this is big news, there's a very cost-effective 254 stroke trail bike that's coming, like a little farm bike with carriers and things. It looks absolutely brilliant. I didn't make a note of the name. Then on top of that, and this is the big reason we were basing ourselves at Portimao, 3 road machines, Don.
Yeah.
So the NK 125, which is a little 4-stroke 125.
They got this little 125. I mean, you rode it around where?
I did. So what they did, the track was divided into three sections. The NKs, there were 2. There's an NK 675. We'll talk about the 675s.
Yeah,
now.
the 125.
But the NK 125 was in a parking lot. They put out cones and they made a little motard track for us. And initially I thought, but what do you want to ride a little bike? You want to see how nimble it is, how well it brakes, how well it handles. Listen to this. This 125 has got a TFT display, okay? It's got, I don't know why, traction control, and it's got ABS braking. Everyone said,
that kind of
why
works,
would you put that on? Well, I don't know,
I mean, you're 16. I think you've still got a 16-year-old son. I mean, would you trust him with anything,
I would, if it were up to me, I would change the rules in South Africa to allow teenagers to ride a 254 stroke.
Yeah, I agree.
Simply because I don't believe that 125s have enough room to get away from the traffic.
But look at it this way. I mean, if you're buying your 16-year-old son a bike,
yes,
you would feel a bit happier knowing it's got ABS and traction control.
100%. It is all about safety and meeting the Euro standards.
But do you think, is it a fun little machine? Would a 16-year-old love it?
I can't explain how much fun it was. Initially, I thought, it's a bit meh. Yeah. I mean, it turns so beautifully. It's flickable and it's light. And eventually you think, maybe I'm going to get into trouble.
Most importantly, it really does look good.
That's fantastic.
Looks amazing.
And I think this is a theme throughout their range. What I think they are trying to do is attract more youngsters into the sport, which
Oh,
is
yes,
absolutely what
Well, I
we
was going
need.
to say, okay, so how much are the parents going to cry when they do the transfer?
I don't think. Look, the figures that they're talking, and I'm not going to quote them. They're all
Are they not?
unconfirmed at the moment.
Okay, they're not decided
They're
yet.
not
yeah.
going to scare you. They are,
Yeah.
the figures that were just bandied around. I don't want to say something on television and they say,
Well,
"Well, Glenn said it was 10 rand." now
Okay,
it's
but
15 rand.
give us what was the sort of ballpark? This is not the official price. What is the not official
On the
price?
125,
Yeah,
I think they were looking sub 40 grand.
that would work.
Yeah,
That would work.
but it is beautiful. It's got
and
a
again,
TFT
that's-
display. It's got all the
Yeah.
technology. It's big enough to carry a guy my size. Okay, 105 kilograms. Smaller guys, you're looking 70, 80 kgs.
And I love it.
It's a great little bike.
Okay.
And the biggest thing on all of the bikes, and this is a theme throughout, I'm not going to repeat this again, the quality feel. It feels like a
lovely.
proper lacquer machine. It doesn't shake, rattle, and roll, handles properly, brakes properly. Cool. And like I said, the 125 is not really fast enough to get into trouble on. So that was
Especially
fun.
with traction control.
Absolutely. Traction control was a must.
Now we move on. Now, one of the big things about CFMoto, we spoke about a 3-cylinder motor. So, funny enough, a 675
Yes.
triple. And we automatically we thought, well, there we go. They've got a motor
Yeah.
from Triumph.
Yeah.
But it's not actually, because I mean, especially if you want to know if a motor is copied, you look at the bore and the stroke.
Correct.
And this is actually quite different. It
Yep.
only just happens to share 675cc capacity.
It's a
But the
CFMoto made
Exactly.
engine. Donovan, they built it from scratch.
Yeah.
I would assume that they took notes from other manufacturers. It makes 95 horsepower
Okay.
and 70 newton meters of torque.
So it's not huge figures, but I
No.
mean, one of the things we did notice compared to the Triumph is that the stroke is longer.
Yeah.
So therefore, that would, in theory, make it a lot more of a kind of a torquey machine than a
Yeah.
revvy machine.
If I can give you an example, and I mentioned it in the NK story that we've got up on the page. It's a little bit of it's like a cross between the MV Augusta and the Triumph.
Wow.
It kind of slots in between those two. So
Yeah.
it's very difficult to explain. The problem, well, not even the problem. The hassle we had on the big bike, on the sports bike, which we're going to move on to just now, was that it was actually limited for A1 licensing. So
Wow.
I didn't ride a full power machine on the track. And even on that, it was impressive, Don. It comes with quick shifter standard, quick shifter up, 6-speed gearbox, hydraulic clutch, blah, 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 you name it. Rider modes, the whole works. I cannot explain how much fun it was and how impressive it is that they've managed to build something so cool first time out. Don, the NK, I'm a naked bike fan. I really am a naked bike fan because that's kind of what I grew up on in the early 90s. It's comfortable, it's small, it's light. You can see where they've saved money though. So
Yeah.
instead of fitting Brembo brakes, which is what everybody wants, or Nissan, they've used Zhejiang brakes.
Which is the Chinese caliper manufacturer.
Yeah, Zhejiang brakes, and then they fitted tires from CST. And I think that
From
in
where?
some ways, CST, I think it's a Chinese tire brand. In some ways, I think they've let the bike down just a little bit. For street use, I would imagine that they're fine. But going round and round a motard track, because we rode the NK on the go-kart track, and it's fabulous.
Good fun.
It's really, really good fun. First, second, third corner. First, second, third corner. And it was great. But the bike feels light. KYB suspension, fully adjustable, rider modes, and the biggest thing for me, Don, it's comfortable. You're not sitting like a pretzel. Your feet
Exactly.
hit the floor easily. You can get your feet up easily. Sit semi kind of upright, crouch over, open the throttle,
Okay.
and away you go. It was great fun.
What sort of unconfirmed, we remind you, unconfirmed price were they
I
throwing
don't know.
around?
I
They
can't know.
still
But
don't
they
know
did
yet.
bandy around. I don't want to tell a lie. I don't want to tell a lie on air. I'll find out for you though. Okay.
Okay, so the price is still coming for that. Then we get on to, they actually built a superbike.
Yes. That is I made notes because I keep getting, every time I've sent it on, this is the 675 SRR, and that's their sports bike. So think sporty, think track, think more aggressive riding, but not ridiculously aggressive. Don, I've ridden some bikes where you're like crouched over the bars,
Yeah.
you lift your head up like this, and especially when you've got injuries like us old motorcyclists,
Yeah,
it becomes a chore. This bike was surprisingly comfortable, and bell of the ball, we got to ride it around the Portimao track.
Full Portimao.
Now you've ridden there.
Hang on.
You
Wait,
can
wait,
explain to
sorry,
them.
I'm just going to hang on. Just a quick one before we do that.
Yes.
So Glenn thought he was going over just to ride the adventure bike. So while everybody else there was in leathers and knee sliders and
Not
leathers
everyone.
kits-
I wasn't the only one.
No. Hang on. So everybody, I'm gonna ruin this here for you. Glenn was riding around in his Leat adventure gear. slightly out of place.
And
Did you get your knee down?
I thought no. I thought yes, no. I thought that I was going to be excluded. I really did, and I thought, how do I explain to CFMoto, who brought me all the way out here to ride these bikes? So I just acted all main. I took the peak off my adventure helmet.
Oh, well done.
And I just walked in like I owned the joint, got on the bike like I knew exactly what I was doing, and took off. And I've got to tell you, it was fantastic. But a disclaimer. The suit I wear has got full CE armor. It's not like you're wearing jeans and tackies. You can't do that on a proper track.
No, far from it.
Yeah. So I went across as your typical road rider who just wants to feel what the bike, and I rode them as road bikes. I went as fast as I could, and I had a wonderful time.
So that SR now, right? So the motor is exactly the same as the Naked. It's
as far as I understand, yes.
95 horsepower, 70 newton meters of torque.
And the one we rode was limited for the A1 license.
Okay, but which is a bit stupid.
I don't
Why
understand.
would they do
it was
that?
kind of weird.
So A1 is they if you live in Europe, beginners, when you start riding, you have to have 42 horsepower, no more. And so what they do is they get these bikes, they limit them to 42 horsepower, and then when you get your proper license, they make them 95. Why you would do that at Portimao racetrack for a bunch of journalists, I don't actually know.
But Donovan, in saying that, we asked what the claim top end was, and they were saying, around about 220. Some of the guys saw 225 down the back straight. I got to 190 k's an hour down the back straight, and you've been there. You come down and then a quick turn like this, you lean, and off you go. I chickened out long before the other guys did. It's still nippy and it's quick and it's just really lekker. I don't know if your horsepower figures are right for the A1 license. They just said it was slightly down for A1.
The tires and all that worked. Also,
Zhejuan, and once again, I'll say it. You kind of go into a corner and you think, well, I wouldn't say I had brake fade, but it just feels a little bit wooden. There's not a lot of feedback on it. The play on the if I were, and I absolutely would. I would buy one of them. I mean, it's a really nice bike, especially if the price is right. I would spend time on upgrading the brakes, and I would definitely fit another set of rubber on. And the brakes could just be a simple case of changing the pad, braided brake lines. Silly things like that. You can make it work for sure.
Okay, and again, no word on the price of that SR either.
There is a word, but I'm not gonna. Honestly, I don't know what the recommended retail price is going to be here.
Okay.
But it does sound like it's going to be juicy. CFMoto South Africa are in a place where they need to attack the market. They need to get in, and I can tell you, in terms of quality on the motorcycles, can't beat that. What remains to be seen is what the price is going to be, and that's critical in this market, without a doubt.
Okay, so then we get on to the reason Glenn was actually in Portimao, in Portugal, which is indeed the two adventure motorcycles. As I said, they start with MT, which stands for mountain.
Yes.
There were two of them, and you didn't get to ride one of them.
No, look, it was impossible to ride every bike. And I'm going to get back to how they ran the whole thing. And I was wondering, geez, how are they going to get this right? So for the road bikes, you had a 10-minute session, 10 minutes off to rest. Roughly 2 hours per track. So you can imagine there was a lot of laps that we did on the bike. And it worked like we were all broken into little groups. It ran like clockwork. I've got to tell you that. It was fabulous. On the second day, we were put onto the adventure bikes, and we were taken. So we took the MT800X, which is the 21-inch front wheel bike, and off we went up into the mountains. Sadly, the weather gods had other ideas. It rained like crazy. So the planned route was, early morning you go out, and it was all tight, twisty roads up into the mountains. If you've ever ridden in Portugal, you'll know what I'm talking about. It is spectacular. It's like stepping back into the 70s, Don.
Yeah.
The roads are narrower than our little back road here outside the house. You go along and you just hope nobody opens the door, comes around a blind corner. You're up in the top, and it's forests and mountains, and it just twists and turns like this. You go through little villages. Absolutely brilliant. So in terms of adventure, travel, we really got to know what the bike was like.
Yes.
KYB suspension, absolutely brilliant. Once again, they used the CST tires, and they had the Zhejuan brakes. Now, what was very interesting was the brakes were perfect for the riding that we did. Okay, rider modes we used. I'm going to tell you about that now. We just before lunch, the heavens opened, and when I tell you they opened, we were all like we were dripping. It was miserable. It was windy. It was cold, but it wasn't miserable because it was lekker. We were riding
motorbikes.
We were riding motorbikes in Portugal. Stopped at the lunch stop. We were meant to do the off-road section that afternoon. Now, I've got to tell you, the day before, the other group had taken the bikes out. And apparently, I believe, there were guys in leathers who'd never ridden an adventure bike before. They were doing the opposite
So wait,
of what
I was going to say the opposite of you.
They were riding in their leathers and stuff, and there were oaks falling down hills and in the mud and getting stuck. So after lunch, we headed out. We waited to see what the weather would do, and then the marshals called it. So sadly, we didn't actually get to ride the adventure bike in proper off-road conditions. Naturally, when we found a little bit of gravel, we all played around, but that's not a proper adventure bike test.
Okay, I just want to talk a little bit about the motorbike. So it's an MT800. What was the figures there?
799cc, shares the motor. Weighs in at 220 kilograms wet weight, which isn't too bad.
Which is all right.
22.5 liters of fuel.
Okay.
90 horsepower. 86 newton meters of torque.
Okay, so
3 rider modes. Click of a button. Road, rain, go. Something like that.
Yeah, but as you said, not submenu 3, subsection 4,
I think-
subclause there,
I hope
paragraph
that
2.
those days are over, because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's got traction control, which you could switch off, and it's got ABS. That was it. Very
Because I know
simple.
that previously some of the designers were trying to make it look neat. So
Yeah.
they didn't want to put too many buttons. Yeah, but then the problem is you want to turn the traction control off, and you've got to go through 17 menus on the dash to do that.
Don, there were no fancy
I
buttons.
want this many buttons, and I want just one button, traction control off.
And you can do it on the fly.
Easy.
You're riding along, select what you want, tap off,
Yes.
tap on, and off you go. And believe me, I use the rain
Okay.
mode. Don, it was so slippery and wet going down the passes.
I can
And what
believe it.
happens is with the mountains, there's gravel and mud that washes across. So
Yeah, I
there were a
can
few
believe
times I thought, let's go into rain mode. I've never used rain mode in my life, because
Yeah,
here we all
what
say,
for?
sports mode. I thanked everybody that they had it, because I would have embarrassed the hell out of myself had I been the first oak in the world to fall off that bike on the road. But
It didn't.
I'm going to say this, they've done a great job. It's got
Yeah.
everything you need on an adventure bike. It's not overly tall. The seat was comfy I would guess we did 300 kilometers on the bike for the day. It was
And not
it was,
fast kilometers, type
No, tight, twisty, up in the mountains. It was excellent. We did give a little bit of poke on the freeway on the way back to get out of the weather once they called it. 160, 170 was easy peasy. But unlike here, they don't like speeding overseas.
We got the MT800
Yes.
that we currently have. It's a 19-inch front wheel.
Correct.
This one is the X version. It's got a
21
21-inch
inch,
front
18 inch rear,
and more suspension.
more suspension, lot more suspension.
Also
KYB,
KYB.
suspension.
Yeah.
Yeah, KYB.
So the rest of the world, by the way, this is South Africa. The rest of the world, you'll see the 19-inch will be the big seller.
Yes.
In South Africa, the 21-inch. It's the
'Cause
only
we're manna.
country in the world
Yeah.
where we prefer 21-inch
Yeah.
to 19 inches.
And why? Better ground clearance. That's
Better
what it
ground
is.
clearance
Yeah.
because we're main off-road riders.
Absolutely,
course we
100%.
are.
And the guys buying that bike will predominantly come from an off-road background.
Okay.
The second thing is, honestly, Don, in thick sand, if you ride a 21-inch front wheel, it tracks better than
It
a
is, yeah.
smaller wheel. It is. And there are more tire options for you, which is a big thing. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
I've got to tell you, I'm super impressed. I do understand that they've taken a lot of technology from other brands that they're even involved with, but they built a great bike.
But it's not like we've seen other Chinese brands which literally copy, you know. It's not copied, it's actually genuine. For example, we'll say it, that 800 is actually a 799 parallel twin,
Yeah.
the same as in a KTM 790.
Correct, yes.
And they were actually licensed to build the 790
Correct,
motor. So
that's
it's not a copy, it is actually a
But
pretty
they've been
much.
smart. They've used the technology that's
Yeah,
available, and they've built bikes. And they are talking now. I can start quoting. They're talking 180,000 rand. They're talking around there for that bike
Wow,
when it gets
okay.
here. It looks beautiful. It feels good. It's going to
Okay.
do well. There's no way
So
around.
my
it.
last question is, when do you know the expected date, the ETA for these bikes?
As far as I'm aware, guys, there are already some in here for homologation purposes. Homologation, you need to send it into SABS
Yeah.
so that they can check that it's all right. And then, so I guess within the next 3 to 4 months, these bikes will start coming through. These are going to be cost effective from what I understand. And I can tell you now, you can buy it with peace of mind. And what I've actually asked the guys from CFMoto, can we have a couple of like long-termers?
Yes.
So we can take them out, take them for
That
a
is-
proper
that
long
is the main
Let's
que-
go and do that long Lesotho ride.
Because that is the main question now. I mean, we can ride them short term for a day or
Absolutely,
two.
yes.
What are they like in 5 years from
Correct.
now?
Yeah.
I suspect they're going to be pretty good, but
Yeah.
no one's confirmed that yet.
Nobody
But-
knows. And that's where the mainline importers have got it right. They've been around long enough
Yeah.
but from what I can see and feel and touch, they feel really good, Donovan. They really do feel
Fantastic.
nice, yeah.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now, of course, we're doing some uncovering. That means it is new Scorpion helmet time. And this is a particularly interesting one. And it's a very, very special one. This is the Scorpion XO R1 FIM Spec helmet. Now, that's a big deal because the FIM, the people who are in control of all motorcycling, take their helmets very serious. They take all safety very, very seriously. And here's the thing, right? If you want to compete in MotoGP, Moto2, World Superbikes, any one of those things, you have to comply to FIM Spec. And it's used by people like in MotoGP, they've got Alex Rins. In Moto2, they've got Aaron Canet. And in World Superbike, they've got 2-time champion Alvaro Bautista. They all use this helmet. Of course, French made. I've been using them for a long time. And in fact, I got this one just before I went to Spain to ride the Panigale V2, if you remember from a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, and I quite like this one. This is the pearl white one, which I like especially because my leathers are quite dark, and then you got this helmet and it just kind of pops. In fact, this helmet is available at different graphics. You can get all the fancy graphics, but I like this one. It really kind of stands out. You see this white sort of bowl head. Now, of course, this helmet comes with a whole lot of technology, not least of which you can see the shape of it. It's got this aerodynamic quality to it, and that's very important. Not only does it help with your lap time by being more aerodynamic, but it helps with comfort. Because seriously, even at high speeds, you don't really feel the wind. It helps because of the streamlined shape of it. The air just flows over. You don't bobble around as much. It also doesn't push up against your face, so you can do high speeds with this helmet with less sort of aerodynamic effects on your face, which is very cool. So you get a better top speed and a better quality of life at top speed. I like that a lot. Now, of course, it's made of stuff. This is made of something called Ultra TCT material, which is very complicated, and people at our laboratory spent a long time coming up with it. But what it basically means is that it's a very lightweight composite material. It's multi-layered, and it's designed to be able to flex to an extent before, braking, which is what you want a helmet to do. You want it to be able to move around a little bit on your head in case, things do go wrong, without just shattering, which is absolutely brilliant. It's also got air vents, nice big knobs like this, one there, and of course a one at the back so that air can pass through, which is very important, especially when you're on a racetrack like me and you're feeling a little bit hot under the weather. I did not feel particularly hot in this helmet. We did 6 sessions of this very, very arduous circuit, and I really did not feel bad at all. The inner lining is very, very absorptive of sweat. They do that on purpose. It's got this very light velvety feel. It also absorbs moisture so that you don't get the sort of clammy feeling around your face while you're riding. Some of you do know about that. It's not great, is it? It is also extremely lightweight. This very helmet is 144 grams, which is more than light enough. I mean, look, you can hold it up like absolutely nothing. You'll notice that this has a smoked visor. It comes standard in this box with a clear visor, but the smoked visor is in there. So immediately, first thing I do is when I got hold of this, I got the guys at Henderson Racing who import this to take the clear one off, put a dark one on because it looks much cooler. Oh, and also you can see better in sunlight and all that. The clear one is in there. It's very easy to change. A few little clicks and it comes off, and then you carry on. There is also at the bottom here, it's got this chin netting that helps keep noise away. This is a very, very quiet helmet. Even when we did our onboard talking with the bike revving like hell and lots of wind, you could hardly hear anything. It was actually extremely quiet, which is rare for helmets like this because normally the sort of racing helmets are a lot noisier, but not this one. This one's very good. It's also got the titanium double D-ring. You have to have that. I know the chin click-in systems are way easier, but unfortunately for the FIM, they're not approved. The double D-lock is much, much safer. And it is, of course, titanium, which is lighter and doesn't rust. And it's going to set you back in the shops 11,500 Rand. Now, you go look at some of the other brands, and they're kind of equally helmets, and you're looking somewhere around 20 grand. Even some of them are more than 20 grand. So 11.5 is very, very reasonable. It's part of Scorpion's charm. Great helmets at a very, very great price. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed enjoyed our little thing on this helmet, and go have a look in all dealers all over the country. They do stock Scorpion helmets, so go ask your local dealer.
Metalize. Protect, ride, repeat.